Ahoy land lovers, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to Parkitect and Lusitania Land. And today we're going to be doing our main sort of plaza square and this little place called the Chiado. Okay, but before we do that, you probably noticed that our entrance is a bit different today. And why was that? Because I went back into the game and I was realizing there was some things missing. I went and looked at some more photos, and I hadn't noticed that in the beginning, but I didn't want to fill up the whole lateral side of the station with windows, but it also looked really bland without them. It didn't look anything like it. Took away a bit of the nature of the building. So I went back in and I threw all the windows on the side, and then I wanted to do something which would be my main plaza area, the entrance to the park, which is the Portuguese shield, the escudo. I tried it out a couple of days ago with some flower beds, but it looked really tacky, and I didn't really like it. But then I remembered last night, I said, hey, wait, how about doing it with paths? That would be good, because it'd be a real plaza. And if you do go to Lisbon and other areas in Portugal, a lot of major cities in Portugal, you'll see all this cobblestone work on the ground, where like they just do sort of artwork on the ground with the cobblestones. And I said, why don't I do that with the shield, the Portuguese shield? And so I tried it out, and just saw me there trying out some colors, because like the shield is like, it has reds, it has yellows, it has blues, it has whites, but I didn't like the way it was looking with the color, so I just went back to the natural sort of stone color, okay, like variants of the colors of grays and browns and stuff like that. I think it turned out pretty nice. If you do look it up, you could see that it does resemble the Portuguese shield. You might be noticing some cuts here and there, because I did cut some parts of the video out because it was really long. I spent nearly all morning on these two little things that you just see me make, which is the shield on the ground, and now we are starting to do I'm starting to make the Chiado. And the Chiado is it's a plaza, it's a square in downtown Lisbon, and it's more or less between two of the major neighborhoods of the city, and the most famous neighborhoods of the city. One which is Bairro Alto, and the other one which is Abaixo Pombalina, which is the lower Pombalina. Pombalina, it refers to a Portuguese politician, Marquês do Pombal, and that's one of the plazas that's named after him. So there's also a statue there of a Portuguese poet. His name is Antonio Ribeiro, which is like, well, I should probably try and get that in the square somewhere, but I just remembered that now. But yeah, so what is really the Chiado? The Chiado was a sort of a shopping area, like you get open shopping area, what we call forums now here in Portugal, where you had these buildings all around the square, and the square would be completely open, and you just wander from one shop to another, and buy whatever you had, whatever you needed, not whatever you had, whatever you needed. But it was like, it is a major tourist point now. But back in the 80s, I can't remember when, because I was in Portugal at the time, but I have learnt and read about it. There was this major fire, and it burnt down like nearly all of it. There was something like 18 or 20 buildings that were totally destroyed or partially destroyed. and it was really really bad. It was like a horror night for the people that live there, because even though this was a shopping area, a lot of the people lived above the shops, all right. So you'd have like the shops down below, on the lower floor, and then like these small apartments on the top, above the shops. So you could just imagine that it would have been horrifying, right? I've only read about it because, like I said, I wasn't in Portugal at the time, but I do know about it. And over these last couple of years, like 20-30 years, the city of Lisbon has been trying and rebuilding the whole area, and I can't remember when, but I know it was pretty, I don't know if it was like 2014 or something like that. They finished the reconstruction, and like everything's back up and it's better than ever. So if you do come to Lisbon and you do feel like doing a bit of shopping the old-fashioned way, you could go to the Chiado, which has one of the biggest warehouses, which is Armazéns do Chiado, warehouses of the Chiado, and it's also got like a publisher. I think it's called Chiado Books or something like that, where like you can, if you're writing your own novel or book or something like that, you can go in and you can publish your own book. You can do a self-published book about it. No, whatever you're writing about. You know what I mean. So the Chiado was like really important in Roman times, because for those of you that don't know, Portugal was conquered by the Romans, and Lisbon was one of the major ports for the Roman Empire. And so the Chiado was like a sort of a marketplace sort of thing, because it's nearly smack bang in the middle of where you can go, walking distance from a lot of things, right? Of course, there's much more than there was back then, but it was a major point of gathering at the time. So back to the building. So what I'm doing here, and at the end of the video you will be able to see, I'll throw up a picture of the real Chiado. I went with these normal walls, and I gave them a bit of grey, but then at the end you'll see I'm going to change up the colours, because I didn't really think they were the right colours. It was just too grey, too bland. And I also did various heights on the buildings, because like in Lisbon and a lot of cities in Portugal and a lot of cities around the world, you'd have like the small houses in the middle of tall houses and stuff like that, or smaller buildings in the middle of higher buildings. And so I went with that, so that middle building is going to be a bit lower than the others. There is a sort of a tower in Chiado, and so that's why I put that sort of a tower with that spire on top. And you'll see me messing around here with the roofs. I'm not really good with roofs. Even in Planet Coaster I was really bad with roofs. I just can't seem to get a grip with the pieces, but I gave them all this sort of brick color, the red brick color of roof tiles, and also you could have seen me throwing some walls on inside of the buildings, right, on the upper floors. That's why, because like even though you're not going to be able to see hardly anything, right, I think it just gives it more bit realism when you're just going through and rotating the camera, and you can actually see a floor and then some walls, so you just don't go and through the top floor you can see to the way down to the bottom floor, so it gives a bit more realism to the building. And what am I doing here now? So I'm finishing off this roof, messing around with the pieces. Once again, I'm still learning how to work with this. It is a real fun game. I am enjoying this a lot. Okay, so here I think I raised this one up a bit. I can't remember, but yeah. So I've been to the Chiado. When I went to the Chiado, at the time there wasn't there anything like I said, it burnt all down, right? And so I haven't been there since it's been open again. I have to try and get there one day. Here I'm just putting some cornices around the top of the building. Then I'll be gaining with some borders down below and in the middle, just give it a bit more life. And there's one thing here, I don't really know why, but those top bits that I just threw on, and there was another cut there because like I was messing around with it. Those top bits, they become, although they're the same color as the other cornices, but they turn out a bit lighter. So later on I'm going to be messing around with those pieces also, and try and fix the color on that. I'll be doing a lot of changing color on this build. So now I'm using a technique that I've learned from Silverette's video. If you don't know who he is, you should check him out. Like, he's like the grand master of building in these games. Planet Coaster, City Skylines, Parkitect, like, yeah, he knows everything and a little bit more. And he uses pillars, and he also uses a lot of chimney pieces to do the tops and bottom of pillars. And so I wanted to put some sort of decoration on the building, so it wouldn't be too bland. So I got those pillars, I just threw them down. Here I'm painting the cornices to be a bit more, should I say, homogenized with the rest of the building. Wow, that's a big word for me. But yeah, I don't know if you noticed that top bit of the cornice was like really light, and I'm going to go back into that. And here I am using the chimney pieces down the bottom to give it a bit more, how should I say, a bit more oomph. And here I'm going to change this one from the square one to this round top one. I'll bring it down, and yeah, I liked it. I like how that ended up. It was cool. It was good. I enjoyed it. And so I'm going around the whole building doing the same thing. There again, from out here you can see, when the camera zooms out, you can see those top cornices of the roof really starting to bug me. And so I really had to do something about it. I threw in the windows, but then later on in a couple of minutes I'm going to go and have to repaint the whole thing. So this build took me a couple of hours. I actually had to stop, go and have lunch, and then in the afternoon I went back in and did the rest of it. There's still one thing that I really would like for this game to have, is verandas. Like, there's that wooden veranda, but like it just snaps to the grid. I'm still trying to work out how to use the grid system, like, and not being so how should I say, constricted to the grid. I would like a bit more flexibility. I did download a mod, can't remember the name, something Anarchy, Construction Anarchy or something like that, where the grid restraint is completely taken off, but it's not working that well. Well, it isn't for me. Like, it says you could use a hotkey, you can set up a hotkey for toggling off and on the mod, but for me it just doesn't work. The hotkey doesn't work, and and it also has a setting where you could put how much you want to change the grid height and stuff like that, but for me it doesn't work, so I just gave up on it. Here you'll see me, I noticed after nearly everything that the windows on the higher buildings were too high. I had a whole wall piece and then a half a wall piece, and what I did in the beginning was I put half a wall piece and then I put in like the windows above that, like you can see right there, and the windows were too high. I just said to myself, no, that's not logical. Like you'd have to be like 2 meters high to be able to look out through the windows. So I went back in and changed up everything. So I took out the windows, the half wall piece I put on top, and the windows and the walls normal size I put on the bottom, and then of course throwing in all the windows again, all the parts. So that's why it took me a bit of time today to do this building. I'm sorry, I'm a bit stuffy today. So I do that, and then like I was saying about the verandas, I really would like verandas in the game, because you'll see in the picture at the end all those top windows, like I said on the station, all those top windows, they're not windows in reality, they're sort of like doors, and a lot of the doors have verandas to the outside, so that's something that's missing. I do in a couple of minutes I do mess around with parts and like the flat roof, half flat roof, and fences and stuff like that, but I couldn't just get it to work. Like if I had I actually made a blueprint of a veranda with a half roof and some fencing, the same fence that I got right there on top of the tower, but it would just like snap to the grid every single time, and it would be either too far out or too far in, or the fence wouldn't go where I wanted it to go and stuff like that. So I just gave up, and before I tried the fence, I actually ended up putting some flower boxes on the windows just to give it a bit more life and color, because it was a bit drab and like sad. Like I'm looking at it now, like yeah, that color was really I don't know what I was thinking, but I throw up some flower boxes on the windows just to give it a bit more thing, and so here you can see got some flower boxes already. So this is the second half, this is after lunch, and I'm going in to painting the building a better color, a more light color, and more appropriate and more into what the real buildings look like. So I put up the flower boxes, I got up some awnings on the shop doors. Keep in mind, this isn't realistic, right? It is a theme park, so there is going to be a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense or doesn't really how should I say, it isn't the real deal. Okay, but yeah, like on the tower I threw up some clocks. Just got the clock from the train station and threw it up there, because I was looking at it and I'm saying, nah, that's a bit like bland also. And here I am trying to get the color of that little piece there. As you can see, it's like there's a really big difference of it in the color. So I'm going around messing around with the colors, and I finally get something more or less. I go a bit light, I go a bit dark, I get something more or less. So yeah, I threw up the clock there on the tower, so just it could be have something there on the side and not be just like a blank slate. I actually like the flower boxes, right? I actually like the flower boxes, they look good there. So we're starting off here with some brick wall, because like a lot of stuff in Lisbon and around Portugal, if you go into the old part of the cities and towns and stuff like that, everything's basically made out of stone and wood. Even the walls, outside walls and stuff like that, they're all stones, and fences were all stone and stuff like that. So I just got a brick wall and change the color up to match a bit of the stone color, and just threw some bushes in, some trees, just to hide a bit of the backstage. Even though the backstage is underground, they go into the shops, because I forgot right in the beginning. So these 3 buildings here, they have shops in them. So it is like a bit of the Chiado. This is me here trying to figure out the veranda. So I did this. I created a blueprint, but then it just doesn't work. Just like it either snaps to one side or snaps to another. It doesn't fit exactly where I want it, because I wanted it to fit right under that window there, and as you can see there, it either goes one way or another. So I ended up just forgetting that. And here is the picture of Chiado and its plaza. So I think I did a fairly reasonable job. It doesn't look half bad. It could have been worse. But yeah, I think it looks good. It looks good. And we're coming up on the end, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, like, comment and subscribe, and go check out the other video where I started with the train station. Okay, thank you once again, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.